We're back. Welcome back to Boss Blunt's Think Tank, Part 2, June 16th. The SPY is on fire, down 3.29% at 366, and retesting new 52-week lows again. Apollo Creed's taking off one of Old Yeller's stockings like popping a fresh can of biscuits. Juan Martinez says, listen to you while I drive my semi. And I love what you do. You get me hyped all the time. Trucking's getting harder, but holding 1K plus AMC till we fucking moon. Love it, my man. Much appreciated. You guys are the best. You guys are the best. I'm definitely holding the vast majority over 1K personally. Let's see how it goes. Wish us luck, huh? Just a reminder, mortgage rates are now at 5.78%. That's an average across the country. For Freddie Mac U.S. mortgage market surveys. And well, they haven't been this high since 2008. And it was the fastest jump since 1987. Since the stock market crash of 1987. My friends, I told you that this is sadly 1987 meets 1929 meets 2008 all over again.
Hey, Mullen's having a jump.
Is that so? Let's take a little peek. Logging into my broker right now. Taking a look at my watch list here. S&P down 3.5, 33.65. Everything's kind of getting slaughtered right now. Everything. Mullen. You ain't lying, dude. Mullen's moving. Man, I'm kind of glad I bought those calls yesterday. I think I see some delta hedging. Oh, that's not a 15-minute candle? Oh, shit, yeah. Let's see the 1-minute candles. It's not as impressive on the 1-minute candles, I gotta say that much. That's all right. Oh, cool. Yes, there are.
I don't want this one. I don't want this one. This is... Daddy.
What's up?
I need this one.
Tell your sister.
No.
Someone's not happy. That's Japanese 10-year yields. Up from about 0.25 to 0.45, up about 20 basis points.
Hi, Daddy.
Let me take my low one over here. Huh.
No, I need to take Band-Aid.
Thank you guys. Yeah. Hey, Jam Bams, Crypto, Kershaw. It's great to see you. Miss Gloria. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you guys. She is why I hold. You are why I hold. Hold for my family, for your family, for all of us. For financial change. For a better future. The S&P 500 now implies an 85% chance of a U.S. recession amidst fears of a Fed policy error, according to J.P. Morgan strategist Marcel Kalinovic, the same dumbass that was telling you to buy the dip in January. Bizarro World Marcel Kalinovic, who was telling you you're going to get fucked if you keep playing games as a bull in this market. Now, this guy's finally coming around. Muhammad El-Arian says, and to think of the pushback some of us got when warning last year that absent policy corrections that sadly never materialized, the Fed, with its stubborn transitory inflation mindset, was embarking on a policy mistake that risked major economic, social, and institutional damage. Emotional damage! Today, AERC was halted multiple times. SIDU as well. And PEI as well. The SPY and Bitcoin are obviously at great risk, and other meme stocks like Mullen Automotive continue to move in upwards fashion, as does AeroClean. Even though it was up much higher earlier today, it's been moving down with the market quite heavily. Take a look at the latest AMC Ortex data. The cost to borrow max to AMC has gone up to 24.9%. The average has gone up to 17.2%, and the minimum has gone up to 14.9%. The borrow change was an increase of 675,000 shares for a total borrowed shares of over 1 million shares today. The current short interest percentage is estimated as up to 22.83% per Ortex estimations. And there are 200 million shares on loan. 200 million shares on loan. When AMC saw its all-time highs of $77 a share, there was only 105 million shares on loan. Meanwhile, people are still in fucking la-la land, according to Macro Elf. Really good macro guy. And they're buying the never-ending dips in denial of the prevailing macro cycle. In the meantime, the Swiss National Bank just increased rates by 50 basis points, guys. Switzerland hasn't increased basis points in like 30 or 40 fucking years. I should have said interest rates. Switzerland hasn't increased interest rates in like 30 or so years. Five-year bonds up to 2010 and 2013 levels. Yields. Guess what? What else did Switzerland buy? The Swiss National Bank also bought Apple and AMC Entertainment, Tesla, and Rivian. that's not fucking bullish, I don't know what is. Cool, let's check out the SPY. Down 3.57. That's nifty. It's got a long way to go, my friends.
Get down!
Arnold Schwarzenegger has arrived. The Governator is here. My friend, what do you think of this action? What should we do?
Huddle!
Like, people need to evacuate.
Get to the chopper!
The SPY is down at 365.50 and dropping like a rock. New 52-week lows, ladies and gentlemen. Oh shit, some people. That's a good look for Ken Griffin. I think that's what he wears when he goes to visit his boyfriend, Jim Cramer. Check this out. Japanese bond futures versus cash. The BOJ still faces pressure from widening policy gap to at least acknowledge it's time to tweak its own settings to conclude its own meeting on Friday. The central bank in Japan is doubling and tripling down on buying up bigger and bigger chunks of what is left of the Japanese bond market to cap 10-year yields at 0.25. But we just saw that's not the case. They just jumped 80% today, 2 hours ago. Liquidity deteriorated to the worst since Kuroda took office in 2013, and JGB futures recently tanked by the most since that year. The Bank of Japan would also likely end up holding more than half of all JGBs to make a dysfunction the norm in one of the developed world's second largest bond markets. The potential for severe value at risk shocks is massive. This is a market that still shudders at the memories of the 2003 VAR meltdown. Remember, everybody, March 25th, Jim Cramer said the bear market was over. Crash risk has never, ever, ever been higher. Look at the NASDAQ 100. Look at the NASDAQ VIX and how suppressed it is, which is the VXN. Which for a lot of brokers is $VXN. SIBO NDX Volatility Index is up 12% today, 3960, and is still artificially low. 2020, it reached 85. Massive market sell-offs create dislocation of the repo market. Big rallies have a similar effect. As customers sell their positions to dealers, there's limited liquidity in the off-the-run markets, so the dealers short sell currents. The increased buying and selling volume leads to more settlements activity, which then leads to more failures to deliver. Market participants reduce their investment and leverage and go into cash, leaving more actual cash in the repo market. Overall, current issues become more special. There's more overnight rate volatility, more cash in the market, and failures to deliver increase further. $36.56 on the S&P. Welcome, Stockman, Buddha, Trey Spider, Wake Up, K Mets, Baines. Good to see you guys and girls. Yeah, the consumer sentiment from the University of Michigan versus inflation. Versus U.S. inflation peaks and the S&P 500 are completely diverged. The S&P is not taking into account the realities at all yet. It's not priced in. 1 second, I'll be right back. Cool. Baby boss has arrived. Ready for So Moas? You must be new here. AMC's negative beta only kicks in when margin calls occur. Quite simply, just like in January and May and June of last year. Bless you. And bless you. You say hi to my friend Snake. You say hello, Poke. Hello, Chase. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Hi.
Say hey, Martin. What's going on?
Hey.
Who's that? Three Arrows Capital failed to meet margin calls. As a matter of fact, they ignored margin calls. They just didn't pick up the phone. AMC failure to delivers are on the rise. Great. Financial Times Markets has confirmed Three Arrows fails to meet lender margin calls. Ladies and gentlemen, you could say that they're fully liquidated. Singapore-based Three Arrows is among the biggest players in the crypto industry. Along with Celsius, they blocked withdrawals last week, while a pair of major tokens collapsed in May. BlockFi was among the groups that liquidated at least some of Three Arrows' positions, meaning it reduced its exposure by taking the collateral the fund had put down back to its borrowing. He added that BlockFi had held collateral in excess of the size of the loan. The troubles at Three Arrows ricocheted to FinBlocks, a platform that offers traders 90% annualized yields. And ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin is sub 21,000 once again. We are seeing 20,946. Yeah, that's right, baby.
It's on fire!
Is he silly? Yeah, he's crazy. And Bitcoin's at 20,956 right now. FinBlocks, which is backed by Sequoia, received an investment from Three Arrows to reduce its withdrawal limits by 2/3 on Thursday. Yeah, baby. You're going to be rich. Ridiculously rich. You know that? You are never going to have to work like an animal. Violent little one.
Oh no, I'm neither surprised nor disappointed. This is just fine with me.
Just fine. I can imagine. So what do you think will be the focus? Because there's lots of angles here, whether there was insider trading, whether the likes of Robinhood hurt their customers, and whether the likes of Citadel are abusing their power. What do you think is the key focus and the likely outcome?
So what I would like to point out here, that we have come dangerously close to the collapse of the entire system, and the public seems to be completely unaware of that, including Congress and the regulators. So let me explain to you that on January 26th, GAME had closed at $77 a share. The following day it closed at $148. The following morning, on January 28th, the stock opened at 355 and traded up to 408. At the same time, GAME had 50 million registered shares outstanding and a short interest of 70 million shares. In addition, there were about 1.5 million calls, which would call for 150 million shares. If the longs repay their margin loans and exercise the calls, their brokers would have been obligated by the rules, as they are today, to deliver to them 270 million shares, while only 50 million shares existed. So when the shorts cannot deliver the shares, the broker representing the longs must, by the rules of the system, go into the market and buy the shares at any price, pushing the price into the thousands.
At any
so
price.
As the price is higher, the shorts default on the brokers. The brokers now must cover themselves. They push the price further up. So the brokers default on the clearing houses, and you end up with a complete mess that is practically impossible to sort out. So that's what almost happened. To avoid this in the future, the SEC needs to immediately call for reporting of short interest on a daily basis, because they are currently only reported twice a month. And I think they should increase margin requirements on shorts by 1% for every percent of short interest. That would solve the problem. This is a gaping hole that didn't have before, because short squeezes are considered market manipulation, which is illegal. But so therefore nobody did it. But with these social platforms, people can just chit chat and suddenly a short
Right.
interest emerge without pointing at any one person who is guilty, right?
So Thomas, I mean, it's extremely complicated, and they'll have to try to explain all this market structure in between some of the populist grandstanding from members of Congress tomorrow. But ultimately, who are you saying is to blame, if anyone, for what happened?
No, it's nobody. Nobody is to blame. There is a hole in the system that we immediately have to stop. There's a hole
Which
in
is
the
short interest reporting?
short squeezes. Sorry?
You're saying that is the short interest reporting. That's what was happening here? That was the problem?
No, the problem was that there is no increased margin requirements on shorts as the short interest increases. As a matter of fact, most people don't even know what the short interest is because it's only reported twice every month.
What portion, Thomas, of your trading is payment for order flow? I know it's a smaller percentage than some of your rivals.
It's like 3%.
Shepard Smith.
It's like 3% of their revenue. Did you hear that? They have to cover and find shares at any price. Baby, you're gonna be so stinking rich. The SPY is down to 365.40, down 3.65%. NASDAQ hits a new low, down 4.4.
Just 10 more options, baby.
I cannot understand you. Stop screaming.
I said I just bought 10 more options.
Oh, hell yeah. That's phenomenal. Man, 365. It's a truly sad, bittersweet day on the markets, my friend.
Well, it's not reported properly in the media, that's for sure. The media would let you believe that it was that we need to regulate meme stocks, we need to regulate retail traders. But in fact, there's another side of the story which points in a different direction. I think we've all been suspicious when we've seen high volume call buying, followed by the stock rising within a week or so, maybe days sometimes, could be even a month, but we associate the rise of the stock with the excessive call buying and sort of a conclusion that is very suspicious. The excessive call volume leads to
His echo goes away after a minute.
stock
It's on his video.
That is true in part, but there are other things going on. When one party is long the call, they have an asset. There's a counterparty that is short the call, and they have a liability. The market makers typically marry people that are doing covered calls with traders that are going long a call. So you have one side going long a call, the market maker looks for someone selling the call and marries the two positions and makes a market. If you have high volume call buying, which is not illegal, the market maker takes the position himself. And as I'm reading the media, you never hear much about market makers doing this. I mean, they pointed to Citadel, but they don't really explain what goes on. The excessive call buying forces Citadel or any other market maker to take the other side position. So now you have the retail traders in GameStop long the call, and you have Citadel or some other market maker short the call. The market maker has an option to do nothing or hedge. Typically, market makers don't like to take overnight positions, and most of these calls were for at least 1 day or more. So they will hedge that position, and the hedge of being short a call is to buy the underlying stock. That is what moves the stock. So in as much as we can marry long call buyers with covered call sellers, nothing happens to the underlying stock.
That's how they hide it. Married puts.
Flow about the stock, causing the stock to go up for fundamental reasons or technical reasons, momentum, moving day average, whatever. But insofar as the volume on the long side exceeds the natural offsetting volume on the short side, the selling side, the market maker steps in, must hedge their position, and that creates the balloon up. Now, I watch CNBC, I watch Bloomberg, I read all this stuff, and has anybody heard that explanation? Great, but I'm very disappointed, and it's not uncommon that even the regulators are just starting to, I think they understand this, I mean the ones in senior positions, but they don't know how to handle it. Now, there are other things, and I'll give it back to you but there are other things that need to be discussed in the situation, because the market maker, in an effort to support now the short seller, Melvin Capital, they will typically borrow the stock, as I think everybody here knows that. They borrow the stock, give it to the short seller. They actually sell it. It never goes to the short seller. Everything stays on the books of the market maker. They sell the stock, they put the cash on their books, memo credit to Melvin Capital, and that's collateral against the short. And that's the typical short selling, but that's not what happened with GameStop. It did in the beginning, but when the shorting got out of hand on the hedge fund side of the fence, the market makers created synthetic shorts. And that's a whole other issue, and we can talk about that. But the synthetic shorting and naked shorting, which is illegal, a market maker can execute naked shorts insofar as they're facilitating a trade. They're not to facilitate someone shorting a position for an extended period of time. So the regulators are looking at that now as to whether or not there was this naked shorting by the market makers on behalf of the hedge funds in order to facilitate the shorts. And I think they're going to uncover that there were some issues there, which gets me to a final point. I'll give it back to you. The penalty for naked shorting is really not significant enough to stop it. Citadel and Goldman and all of the players get fined constantly for doing this. As long as it's not intentional and never is intentional, they get fined. And I think one of the things we need to do is discuss increasing the fines for this lapse of memory and inefficiency in the system to the point where people wake up and pay attention. Right now, the fines are insignificant. So I have more to say on that, but that's just a taste of where I'm going. Well, it's got to be technology. I mean, we were very paper intensive. It's just a taste of where I'm going.
That guy works for Citadel. Pretty sure that guy works for Citadel. And I know that Dollar Store Dollar store
It's gotta
Liam
be
Neeson
technology.
here works for
I mean,
Citadel
we
as
were
well.
very paper intensive. In my early days, you had trade date plus 5 to settle, and it was paper. And when we had the crash in '87, it took 2 weeks to settle trades.
Charles Gradante is a hedge fund manager. He knows this business better than anybody. He's laying out, just in the same way that Thomas Peterfee of the CEO of Interactive Brokers laid out the GameStop and AMC situation, Charles Gradante is laying it out from the hedge fund's perspective in regards to the fuckery happening from short hedge funds and market makers. The SPY.
Thomas, in the interview earlier, he never said, "Oh, CB said go in city because of the market cap." Remember that?
You're right. He didn't say it couldn't go to unimaginable highs because of market cap. He said they have to buy back at any price.
Oh, so market cap is irrelevant.
200% irrelevant.
Yep.
That happened on the day, the Friday and the Monday after the crash. So that's the main thing. I think technology is the answer to any question like what's the difference between now and before. But
Right. So everything has greatly increased in speed.
yeah. But I think getting back to my points and retail now is a big player on the street, and GameStop shows how important it is to address that sector.
Well, Charles, is that because trades are free now? I mean, back in
They're not free,
'87, it would have cost
motherfuckers.
$50 to call
Trades
a
are not
broker and
free.
trade, right? Is that why you think that's incorrect?
Well, the trading was more expensive. The bid-offer spreads were wider, and most of the velocity trading was done by institutions that had a moral compass. Not that as a matter of fact, I'm in favor of what the Reddit boys did and girls. They were
Cheers.
right in what they did.
We were right. We are right.
This is coming from a hedge fund manager. So
We've
that's-
always
But
been
an
right.
institution would never push the system that far because the regulators would come down on them and saying, in other words, the question you have to ask yourself, well, why didn't a hedge fund do what Keith Gill did and his followers? Because a hedge fund would do that to a certain point and then cut it because the SEC would be in on them.
I see. So when the retail players rallied together, there was no. I guess there wasn't a single target, or is that why why wouldn't they be? Why wouldn't they go after them?
Well, if Goldman Sachs tried to execute a short squeeze, they have executive management that at some point would have said, "We've made enough money, now cut it out," because the SEC will be on our backs, and we don't need those two-bit no good. So that's important. Whereas the retail guys just said, "Hey, if Plotkin can short, over 100%, or Plotkin and his cohorts could short over 100% of the float, why can't we buy enough calls equal to 100% of the outstanding or the float?" So it was an even up playing field, just that the moral compass is different. The hedge funds got a little bit of a more moral compass, not that much more, but a little bit more.
Well, and Charles, I think you told me that it didn't.
Yes, sir.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize there's a risk of a squeeze when you have over 100% of the
I
flow
was
short.
surprised when they had the congressional hearing that they didn't. They tried to set the retail side up for a fall, but it's really the hedge fund world. I mean, poor risk management. Once you see the exchanges reporting that 100% of the float is being shorted, and there's synthetic shorts to carry it up to 140% or thereabouts. It only takes a 10% move in the stock to start some shorters to think about covering the short. most hedge fund managers will start covering their losses if they're long and the stock goes down 10%. At 10% is sort of the demarcation. And if they're short and it goes up 10%, they start covering. There's a simple mathematics. If the stock goes from 100 to 90, you only need 10%, 10.5% to get back to break even. So you start cutting your losses at that point. At 20%, you either double down or cut the position out altogether.
Charles, I want to ask you about something I think we've discussed in the past. We're obviously very big fans of NASDAQ here, but I was talking to a NYSE market maker, and he said he felt sick to his stomach that day when you could only put in sell orders for that list of stocks. How did that come about?
Well, like I was alluding to before, the market makers were basically selling to Robinhood and the Reddit crowd naked calls, long. And they were short the call because it's double entry accounting. Somebody's long and somebody's short. And the market makers did not hedge in the beginning. But then when they started hedging, because the volume of calls went to the point where it became dangerous, the hedge to a short call is to either buy another call or buy the stock. And it's much easier to go in and buy the stock electronically than to start. So they bought the stock, and in buying the stock, they were moving the price up. And their attitude was, this call buying will stop, so let's buy the stock, hedge our current position, and hope that the buyers of these calls stop. But they didn't. They just kept going and going and going. So the buying of the long stock on the short call became the issue. And so they got to the point where the exchanges and regulators were aware that market makers were becoming illiquid. They have to settle these trades, and they need capital to do that. And they were spending their capital, which is on the to cover the short call. And then that's what blew it. And then they had to stop buying the stock. No more buying the stock unless you're Plotkin or hedge funds or you're short,
Right,
and you want to reduce your risk. But no more buying for speculation. You can buy to cover a short.
Criminal. So they could sell this float thousands of times over for synthetics.
Putting out a statement.
But then they only want the short hedge funds to be able to buy the stock, huh?
Oh, we can't buy for speculation, but they can. All right.
Yep. AMC shareholder meeting starts in about 4 minutes. And yes, Amar, we have an update on the executive order. The executive order is fucking Ken Griffin and Virtue and Citadel in the ass. Liquidity is drying up. Bitcoin is in the shitter. Mortgage-backed securities are through the roof. The reverse repurchase is at all-time highs, 10 out of the last 11 days since June 3rd, 2022. My friends, short hedge funds are getting liquidated left and right. Stable coins are falling apart. Russia is destroying 43 biolabs that are owned by the Pentagon in Ukraine. And China, Xi Jinping has signed an executive order to use special military tactics to maintain sovereignty of Taiwan as part of China. This is the same thing that Russia did. Inflation is out of control. The United States Federal Reserve is slowing down quantitative easing and beginning to taper. My friends, the bond market has lost a lot of its value, and it's got a long way to go. Our little bets here off of TBT, ultra short on the 20-year Treasury bonds, a la Dr. Michael Burry, are doing absolutely phenomenally so far. And I think they've got a lot of upside. Credit default swaps are through the roof. Go ahead, brother.
I'm up 300% on CBC calls.
Monsanto?
No, CBC calls.
Correct, TBT calls. Evergrande has been delisted from 50 German indices, approximately 50, effective today. This is going to cause further liquidity issues, as are the stable coins collapsing, the depegging of USDD today, and a lot more to come.
Us man, good afternoon.
My man Pantheon. I'll be right back.
Did you address the Donahue George tweet? We could do that in less than 3 minutes before the meeting starts.
Go
Okay. So I've seen in the comments here. Sorry I wasn't able to get here sooner, guys. I see in the comments there's some people wondering about this tweet from Donahue George. Remember, he's the guy that tried to sue over the removal of the buy button in Florida.
Right.
So he put out a tweet that's basically talking about Adam Aaron's tweet. I know you talked about Adam Aaron's tweet, and I agree with everything you said, boss. In this Donahue George tweet, he's basically saying, "Look, guys, Adam Aaron's not even being accurate about the share count." In July 21st or July 30th, 2021, he tweeted 513 million shares, and then now he's tweeting 516.8 million shares. The people that are putting this out there, they just, it's a real simple explanation, guys. It's called the equity incentive plan. The executives within AMC, as part of their compensation, get shares every year, and they're issued in January, February, and March, and they're done on what's called a Form 4, number 4, a Form 4 with the SEC. And these Form 4s are all loaded up on the NASDAQ website for everybody to see. And I did a video on this quite some time ago, which was episode 91 in the series, which broke down all of the Form 4 filings of January, February, and March 2022. And it adds up to, magically, guess what, 3 million plus shares. So the tweet is actually correct, and he's also misunderstanding it. Yes, July 30th, 2021, there was 330,240 legally issued shares. And January, February, and March 2022, they issued 3+ million shares to executives as part of the equity incentive plan, which now correctly takes us to 516.8 million shares.
Bingo.
Those two numbers are both correct. And Donahue George's misunderstanding, and people in the comments just haven't taken a look at the Form 4s, which is fair enough.
Thank you very much for explaining that to people. And that's why people need to stop jumping to conclusions.
With 50 seconds to spare before the meeting.
Like a boss.
A minute.
I love it.
Yeah, you gotta read the details. That's how DD works.
So have no fear, brothers and sisters. Also, one quick last thing. This whole dilution thing that people are throwing out there, guys, it's nothing has indicated to us at any point that there's any kind of dilution coming, right? The New York Stock Exchange 20% rule is a real rule. Adam Aaron has had plenty of opportunities. He's not taken any course of action to it. We can talk about this a bit later. We got to get to this meeting.
It's okay. We're on hold anyway. It says, please hold tight. The broadcast will begin shortly. You'll be notified as soon as it begins. So we're fine to continue this conversation. And you're right. Continue on. He could have done it already if he wanted to, but he didn't.
Here's the facts, folks. We've got April 2021. Adam Aaron asked for 500 million shares from the shareholders. We basically, what we did, we voted no, and he pulled it because he didn't want to announce that we actually voted no. So they pulled that request. Then they came in June 2021, and Adam Aaron asked us for 25 million shares, understanding that the New York Stock Exchange 20% rule, which I can give you the exact rule number of that, SR NYSE 2020-85. Now, this rule was put in place when COVID really started off, because they wanted companies that had their income go from a number to zero overnight, like AMC. All companies, not just AMC, were allowed to exercise more shares up to 20%, and there's various requirements around it. We could get into the whole thing as to when they can and can't do it. but it's to get liquidity when they're not making any income because everything's been shut down. It was a temporary rule. It's still in effect, but they'll probably pull it at some point. But it allows them to not have to go through getting proxies and set up a shareholders meeting and collect votes when they need cash today for companies, not AMC, for any company, guys. That was in a problem with what was going on with the virus of unknown origins, as we say.
Yeah, who wants to wait overnight for the RFP?
That's right.
Give it to me now.
And the cost to do all that, right?
Yeah.
So basically what happened is this rule was put into effect. You know, I made a video on this, episode 86 in my series, just explaining to people you need to understand all of the tools in your tool belt. You may not need to use the hammer, you may not need to use the wrench, but you need to understand what they do because Citadel and everybody we're up against completely understand the rules. Like, you're not going to go play a game of baseball, have you never seen baseball in your life, and not say, how does this game work? You're not going to go stand at shortstop with a glove on your hand and say, I don't know what I'm doing. You're going to say, how do you play this game before you step out? But people seem to want to invest in the stock market but not want to understand things like this rule. This rule is not something to be afraid of. It is not. Adam Aron could have, when we said no to the 25 million shares, he could have said, all right, fine, I'm going to go with the New York Stock Exchange 20% rule and issue shares anyways. He didn't do that. He also said he wasn't. And let's address this idiot's comment from before. Did he say he wasn't going to issue shares in 2021? If we approved the 500 million or the 25 million, right, he wasn't going to issue those shares in 2021. He said he could wait till, but he didn't say he was going to issue them in 2022. He said he would guarantee not to issue them in 2021. We did not approve those shares. So, and on top of all that, guys, he's got 50 million preferred shares that he's never issued too. So he could issue those if he felt like it. We don't need to panic about this. What this is straight up YouTuber FUD trying to panic people to get clicks and views. I'm going to be as straight as I can on this with everybody.
Absolutely.
There is nothing from Adam Aron indicating that he would pull the trigger on this. In fact, he has clearly come out in the last quarterly earnings call and said specifically he values the shareholders. He does not want to pull any kind of mess or fuckery, whatever you want to call it, to ruin this retail shareholder base. He knows if he pulled something like this, people would pull out. He's given us zero indication that this is going to happen, but it's a tool in the tool belt that Citadel knows about, so we need to know about it. That's it. You just need to know it exists. It's like the infield fly rule in baseball. You may never come across it, but you should know it exists in case the bases are loaded and the ball gets hit up to the catch or to the pitcher in the middle of the air. You should understand how that rule works, right?
100%.
So, guys, it's not something for us to panic about and not to worry about. And we haven't even started this meeting yet. We're not going to have Adam Aron drop 100 million shares on us in this meeting, guys. You heard it.
Pantheon, I agree.
Yeah, right.
Fucking love you, Pantheon.
AMC's got billions, got over $1.5 billion sitting in their bank account right now. They don't need $100 million shares at $15 a share. They're going to give that some time.
Yeah, the new lows on the SPY, and the next is popping 35 soon.
Oh, my VIX calls need this right here. Let's go.
Ow, my VIX.
Thank you, Pantheon, for handling that FUD so nicely, my friend, because there's too many people saying negative things or jumping to conclusions, and we started this on the last video. If you're out there watching YouTubers that don't know what the fuck they're saying, or watching people on Twitter that don't know what the fuck they're saying, maybe you should probably stop. Maybe you should reassess if this person understands what they're talking about.
Maybe it's too far.
Power.
New 52-week lows on the S&P. SPY's at 364.35 and dropping hard. $3.5 trillion worth of options expire tomorrow. including a shitload of my AMC calls and GameStop and a bunch of other ones. If nothing happens. But I do not lose hope until the fat lady sings. But I'm still prepared with many other calls and shares for next month, and the month after that, and the month after that. And a few months after that, too.
Come on, beginner's luck.
What's with the music? Oh, it's AMC? Alright, here we go. That's the corny-ass music. Alright, here we go, everybody. It's about to start. Everybody keep it down on the Discord if you can. I'll put this as loud. I'm just telling you.
No, go give that back to Dad. Go give it back to Dad.
Come on, AMC. Let's get this show on the road. Oh, good. I can turn this music down a little bit. Jeez, I mean, as much as I mouth for some classical music, but it's a bit much here. Come on. I know we're going to the moon and all.
It's a banger.
Yeah, Mozart's cool and all, but some Trans-Siberian would be really fun right about now.
I love me some Trans-Siberian.
Yeah. Something with some more energy. You know, I don't want to fall asleep here. Let's get hyped up. This is the fucking AMC annual meeting of stockholders.
You ever been to one of their shows?
AMC annual meeting of stockholders? No, man, I've never been to one of their shows before.
Here's a music show.
You talking about Trans-Siberian Orchestra? I've never been, but they do put on a good show, huh? I've seen them, like, not at live though.
Videos and whatnot, yeah. Yeah, I got it.
364.39. Whoa, we got down to 364.09 or so. We do need some hype music. You know what? While we're waiting, got a song from my man Paul P. You know, hang on.
Hey, Daddy.
Hey.
Can you miss your dad, please?
Yeah, go tell your sis, please.
No. I always tell my sis.
Go bring your shoes. Bring me your shoes.
Do it.
The little boss over here. You listen? You hear that? Holy crap! You know what? While this gets going,
your shit.
Yeah, she is. That little girl's got. Well, check this out.
I really doubt that we're going to see an inflationary cycle.
Most economic analysts believe that it will have a temporary or transitory impact.
The faster than expected increase in some of those prices is actually a good sign.
The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down. No one's talking about this great, you know.
This is something that will settle down.
Transitory.
Transitory.
And the data shows that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary. There's nobody suggesting there's unchecked inflation on the way. It's highly unlikely that it's going to be long-term inflation that's going to get out of hand. I don't know anybody who's worried about inflation.
Over the last couple of months, we actually saw it trended downward.
President Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain, enthusiastically retweeted an economist who had said in part most of the economic problems we're facing, inflation, supply chains, etc., are high-class problems.
What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh my God. That is hilarious. Well, the number one thing that the president can do is help get COVID under control. That we know is the root cause of inflation.
President Biden this afternoon saying he thinks we're at the peak of the crisis right now and that lower prices are on the way.
The inflation has everything to do with the supply chain. Make no mistake, inflation is largely the fault of Putin. I'm going to do everything I can to minimize Putin's price hike here at home.
If you want to get rid of inflation, the only way to do it is to undo a lot of the Trump tax cuts.
I think ever since you've come into office, things are really looking up. You know, gas is up, rent is up, food is up, everything.
Well, if that's not telling, I don't know what is. It's transitory, all right.
Fucking crazy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Marcel.
What's up?
That's a snazzy looking thing. They're hanging on the, I guess, mirror in the back. Where'd you get that?
Oh yeah, the merch store, brother. Check it out down below in the description. Good looking out. It's our guy Paul P.
You don't know all the shit that I've been through, all the pain and the struggle that I lived through. Now I'm rolling up these papers that I smoke through, thinking about all the shit that I've been through. Now I'm sipping on this whiskey, got one chance and it's risky, so you can't play around. And I got my team behind me like a background. I don't never back down, picking up the slack now. Now I'm focused, keep on grinding for my stacks now. I'm feeling lost in this ocean, where's a lighthouse? I keep on swinging for the fence and I ain't strike out. And yeah, that's how I'm feeling, yeah, that's how I'm feeling now. We're not here for a long time, yeah. It's 9 to 5, it's a long grind, yeah. A lot of success, it's a long climb, yeah. Now I'm sitting here making up for time, yeah. Man, I took so many losses that I lost count. I didn't know what I was made of, but I found out. And this life will blindside, you better look out. These haters wanna see you fall and get you took out. Yeah, cause I fell on my face, and this life is a race. I keep on checking my place. Now I'm riding for my team, you can tell by my plates. And this life just threw a hook, it caught me right in the face. But I'm getting back up, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll climb a couple of mountains, I'll swim a couple of lakes. Don't got time for the bitching, don't got time for complaints. Now you going through some shit, now tell me how does it taste? You don't know all the shit that I've been through, all the pain and the struggle that I lived through.
Owning just under 765,000 AMC shares, and having been granted as part of my annual compensation for the past many years an additional 2.1 million shares in AMC vesting over the next 2.5 years. I act and think like a shareholder, because I am a shareholder. On behalf of AMC, welcome to our 2022 annual meeting of stockholders.
Yes.
An agenda outlining the order of business has been made available. The matters on which the stockholders will be voting are to 1, elect directors, 2, ratify the appointment of Ernst & Young LLP as the company's independent public accounting firm for 2022, 3, approve or not approve on an advisory basis the compensation of the company's named executive officers as disclosed in the proxy statement, and 4, to transact any other business that may properly come before the meeting. I'd like to begin the meeting by introducing our current board of directors, all of whom are joining us remotely on this webcast. Joining us are Hawk Koch, Philip Lader, Gary Locke, Kathy Paulus, Tony Sach, Adam Sussman, and Lee Whitlinger. I can promise you, the shareholders of AMC, that we have an extremely diligent, engaged, and committed board of directors at this company. Kevin Connor, the Senior Vice President and General Counsel and Secretary of the company, will serve as Secretary of today's meeting. He has delivered an affidavit from Computershare, the notice agent for the annual meeting, which states that on April 29, 2022, a notice of the meeting was mailed to all stockholders of record as of the close of business on April 22, 2022, the record date for the meeting. This affidavit is available for examination and will be filed with the minutes of this meeting. Mr. Connor will now discuss the procedures for transacting the business of this meeting. Kevin?
Thank you, Adam. Good afternoon. The meeting will take place as described in the agenda. We have a quorum of stockholders present in person or by proxy to conduct business. When an item of business on the agenda is before the meeting for consideration, questions and comments should be limited to that item. If a stockholder has a question or comment not related to a business item on the agenda, an opportunity will be provided at the designated time. If you wish to make a statement about any resolution pending on the floor, please raise your hand to be recognized. Once you are recognized, please approach the front desk and state your name and whether you are a stockholder or a proxy holder. If you are a proxy holder, please state the name of the stockholder that gave you the proxy. Please keep your statements brief and limited to the specific item up for discussion. We may have to interrupt any statement that continues for an unreasonable amount of time. Any speaker will be limited to an absolute maximum of 2 minutes. If you have not already submitted your votes and would like to vote during the meeting, please raise your hand now and a ballot will be provided. Ballots will be collected at the conclusion of the business items on the agenda. Any ballot not received when called for will not be counted. We will announce the preliminary results at the conclusion of the meeting.
Thank you, Kevin. The Board of Directors has appointed Eddie Gladbach and Kelly Schemenauer as inspectors of election for the meeting. They have signed an oath to act as inspectors of election, which will be filed with the minutes of this meeting. The inspectors have the registered stockholder list of the company as of the record date for determining stockholders eligible to vote at the meeting. This list is available for examination and will also be filed with the minutes of this meeting. Kevin has advised me that a quorum is present, so I declare the meeting is duly and lawfully convened. I'm aware that there is considerable shareholder interest in knowing how many shares have been voted at this meeting. The number of shares that voted prior to the meeting are approximately 269 million shares, which is 52% of the 516.8 million total outstanding shares. I'd remind our shareholders that voting is an important opportunity for you. At last year's stockholder meeting, many shareholders also did not vote their shares, as was the case this year. I would encourage more of you to vote at future shareholder meetings to let your voices be heard. The first item of business is the election of directors. As disclosed in the proxy statement, the candidates for director who've been nominated by the company's Nominating and Governance Committee of the Board of Directors are Board of Director nominees: Adam Aaron, that would be me; Howard Hawk Koch, and I think he legally changed his name many years ago just to Hawk Koch, so I'm going to call him Hawk Koch, not Howard Hawk Koch; Kathleen Paulus, and Anthony Sage. In accordance with the company's bylaws, stockholders are required to provide the advance notice of their intent to nominate candidates for director. No such advance notice was properly received, and therefore no additional director nominations can be accepted at this time. I declare the nominations for directors closed, therefore, and a motion to elect the nominees is now in order.
Debbie Weber, a stockholder. I move that the nominees be elected as directors to serve until the 2025 annual meeting of stockholders.
Thank you, Debbie, for that nomination. Is there a second?
Derek Leggett, a stockholder. I second the motion.
Thank you, Derek, for the second. Are there any questions or comments on this motion? I hear none. Therefore, with no further discussion, I hereby call the question and declare the polls open to vote on the motion. If you have not voted, or if you wish to change your vote and you are here in the room at the meeting, please do so now by marking your ballot. Seeing no ballots being put forward, I now declare the polls closed on this motion and will proceed with the agenda. The next item of business is to ratify the appointment of Ernst & Young LLP as the company's independent public accounting firm for 2022, as discussed in the proxy statement. I'd like to recognize representatives from E&Y who are joining us in the room today. Would you please stand? Thank you, gentlemen, and welcome. A motion to ratify the auditor appointment is now in order.
Amanda Dennis, a stockholder. I move that the appointment of Ernst & Young LLP as the company's independent public accounting firm for 2022 be ratified.
Thank you, Amanda, for the motion. Is there a second?
Natalie Martinez, a stockholder. I second the motion.
Thank you, Natalie, for the second. Are there any questions or comments on this motion? Hearing none, there will be no further discussion, and I hereby call the question and declare the polls open to vote on the motion. If you've not yet voted, or if you'd like to change your vote, you're here in the room, please do so now by marking a ballot. Seeing none, I now declare the polls closed on this motion, and we will proceed with the agenda. The next item of business is to approve the compensation of the company's named executive officers. This proposal is a non-binding stockholder advisory vote. The company's executive compensation is discussed in detail in the proxy statement. A motion to vote on the compensation of the named executive officers is now in order.
Greg Verlaine, a stockholder. I move that the compensation of the company's named executive officers as disclosed in the proxy statement pursuant to SEC rules be approved.
Thank you, Greg, for the nomination. For the motion, is there a second?
Ron Herman, stockholder. I second the motion.
Thank you, Ron, for the second. Are there any questions or comments on this motion? Hearing none, there'll be no further discussion, and I hereby call the question and declare the polls open to vote on the motion. If you've not yet voted, or if you wish to change your vote, please do so now by marking a ballot. Seeing no ballots being brought forward, I now declare the polls closed on this motion and will proceed with the agenda. If you have a ballot to be submitted, please raise your hand and the inspectors will collect it. We will now briefly recess the meeting. While we are recessed formally, I'd like to make a few comments about AMC and open the meeting to any questions that stockholders may have. Let me remind everyone that some of our comments or answers to questions may contain forward-looking statements that are based on management's current expectations. Numerous risks, uncertainties, and other factors may cause actual results to differ materially from those that might be expressed today. Many of these risks and uncertainties are discussed in our public filings, including our most recently filed 10-K. Several of the factors that will determine the company's future results are beyond the ability of the company or of the management to control or to predict. In light of the uncertainties inherent in any forward-looking statements, you are cautioned to not place undue reliance on these statements. AMC undertakes no obligation to revise or update any forward-looking statements, whether as a result of new information or future events. With that said, I personally, and all of us at AMC, are very grateful to all of you, our shareholders, for your commitment to AMC. Some of you are here in the room, some of you here on the phone. There are others of you scattered all across the globe. And some of you are here with the hope merely to make money, which of course is absolutely fine, while others of you also believe that it is vital that you help keep cinemas open and alive. As long as any one of us at this meeting can remember, movie theaters have been so much at the center of the cultural fabric here in the United States and, in fact, the world over. And no company has stood taller in this area than AMC in the United States, which dates back to the 1920s. along with our Odeon Cinemas Group throughout Europe, which dates back to the 1930s, and with our new growing business as well in the Middle East. Your enthusiasm and passion for AMC Entertainment as our shareholders is what convinces us that we will be standing tall going forward as the industry leader and the industry innovator, just has been the case heretofore. You should take some comfort in knowing that we have a sound underpinning strategy that can be encapsulated in just 3 words: recovery, agility, and transformation. Recovery embodies all the steps we've taken to build back from pandemic closure. Starting in the third quarter of 2020 through the end of 2021, our revenues grew every single quarter. In 2022, again, we will make progress. It is our current expectation that second quarter revenues in 2022 will exceed first quarter revenues, that third quarter revenues will exceed second quarter revenues, and that fourth quarter revenues will exceed third quarter revenues. The word agility in our strategy means that we are preparing to cope and adjust as best we humanly can to any change that may come our way in the movie theater business. Over the past 2 years especially, AMC's management team has proven and demonstrated again and again and again that we were able to navigate well through uncharted waters. We threaded needles with a deft hand. That same expertise and experience will continue to be applied when facing any curves in the road ahead. And as for transformation, AMC is looking at various opportunities to make our company a bolder and granter enterprise, a bigger, more exciting, more successful company in future than it was when first confronting the pandemic some 27 months ago. Our investment of $28 million in Hycroft Mining Company is an example of AMC Entertainment being willing to seek transformative change for the benefit of our shareholders. As such, I can announce today that recently our board of directors has approved allocating up to $100 million of additional AMC's monies from what I have termed our cash war chest for additional investment opportunities in companies where we think that AMC can add value and in turn that we therefore can create value for AMC shareholders. You also can take comfort in knowing that we are optimistic about our future. That optimism stems in part from the overwhelming success of movies in theaters right now. Top Gun Maverick and Jurassic World Dominion, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, all monstrously successful and in many cases record-setting hits. And soon we will be showing more blockbusters in our theaters, including this very month, Pixar's Lightyear, which opens tomorrow, Friday, along with Elvis, and Minions, and Thor, and Bullet Train, and Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
I think too many of you in the comments are way too impatient and ill-informed.
Coming throughout 2022. Before moving to your questions, I'd also like to address 3 additional topics that I believe to be of particular interest to our shareholder base. We do read your comments. I do read your comments on Twitter and on Reddit, and we have a good sense of what is important to you. First, just yesterday, I tweeted that we at AMC have done a share count 6 times in the past year, and that to our knowledge, there are 516 1.8 million issued and outstanding AMC shares. Many of you do not believe that this number is accurate, but that is the number that we know to be true. Second, last year, you urged us to stop issuing additional common shares. As many of you were, I think I should use the word obsessed with the topic of dilution. We followed your wishes.
There you go,
I was quite open at the time that I thought that following your wishes was a mistake, but that I also thought it was incumbent on me as CEO of the business to follow your wishes. In my view then, what makes a company stronger and what really strikes fear amongst short sellers is when a business can increase or demonstrate a future ability to increase the amount of cash it has in the bank. We issued shares at AMC in January of 2021, and the AMC stock price rose. We issued shares in May and June of 2021, and again, the AMC stock price rose. We stopped issuing shares in July of 2021 at your urging, and then our share price started to slide ever since. Still, we did follow your wishes. We further announced that we would not seek your approval to issue more common shares in all of 2021. We kept our word. Some of you cynically assumed that we would attempt to issue new common shares as early as the first week of January 2022, when 2021 had ended. We did not do so. And I can announce today that we have no plans to seek your approval to issue new common stock for all of calendar year 2022. However, for full transparency, I have previously said publicly that a decade ago, the board of directors of the company authorized the creation of preferred stock in AMC, but that's a different kettle of fish, and we would only consider creating preferred stock if we were convinced it was in the interest of AMC shareholders to do so. And on the third topic, many of you give voice that AMC should address trading practices.
There you go, people.
In the market.
He just said he wasn't issuing new
In
shares
the words
for now.
of many a
So
tweet that I received,
chill the fuck out,
do
fudsters.
something. He's not exactly identified what, but it's do something. I said on our first quarter earnings call that you should not take silence as inaction, that it's an art form in running a company to know what to do and what not to do, to know when to do it and when not to do it. I said that AMC would pounce when the time was right. Since that earnings call, I can't tell you how many tweets I've received that have asked, so when are you going to pounce? When would the time be right? Just as has been the case before, on the advice of counsel, I cannot tell you today what we will do or when we will do it. But I can safely say that in looking at all the surroundings and circumstances before AMC, we likely will not do anything. We will likely not pounce prior to the announcement of our second quarter earnings, which will occur a month or two from now. The box office in April and May are public numbers. And the box office in April and May was just great and considerably higher than the months of the first quarter, January, February, March. And in June, we'll have the benefit in our theaters of Top Gun, Jurassic, Lightyear, Elvis. It is likely that it is important for our shareholders and the financial markets more broadly to assess the importance and implications of our second quarter results before we do the next step. With that all said, are there any questions from our shareholders here at the meeting? If you have any questions relating to the company, feel free to ask them. If they're individual matters, we do have people in the room who can discuss customer issues and the like with you privately. The floor is now open to shareholders, with a reminder that so that all shareholders get a chance to speak if they wish, we are going to limit questions to 2 minutes. Questions in the room? Yes, sir.
Mr. Adams, hi, my name is Corey Seaman, I'm a shareholder.
Corey, I don't know if they can hear you on the phone. Can we make sure that you have a microphone?
You want me to come?
Yeah, just maybe step up a little closer to
Or
it.
just speak right into that speakerphone, and that way you'll be on, this one works, you can have that. This way the webcast will get your question as well as my response.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Adam, it's a pleasure to be here. I have a statement rather than a request that doesn't require a response, but you're more than welcome to respond. I want to credit Boss Blunts from YouTube for reminding me of Thomas Pettifree. He founded Interactive Brokers and explained the stock positions which facilitated the risk of the entire financial market collapse. The event was contained but well illustrated in the GameStop stock from January 26th to the 28th in 2021, when the stock surged from $77 to $408. In the aftermath, it was determined that GameStop had 50 million registered outstanding shares, short interest of 70 million, and derivatives representing rights to exercise purchase of another 150 million shares. Meaning market makers are facilitating an infinite liquidity practice, as recently referenced and confirmed by Virtu Financial CEO, that created an obligation to potentially deliver 270 million shares of a stock that GameStop only issued 50 million for. If the price of a stock can jump from $77 to $408 in 2 days, and the registered outstanding shares leading up to the volatility were conveniently at or just under the number of issued shares, then aside from that being a red flag of cooking the books, it illustrates that the stock price was not reflecting true demand. And while GameStop stock price easily could have and may very well still run into the thousands of dollars, it did not, because brokers of Apex Clearing took away the buy button and went position close only, effectively suppressing new demand, increasing selling pressure, and likely covering the positions they had otherwise simply accounted for with share lending rehypothecation. So I remind us all of that real-life example of the current market-making practices and unregulated risk that many AMC shareholders believe that pose a threat to our current stock price. Many retail holders and apes bought AMC shares to save AMC from predatory short sellers that may have been trying to bankrupt or devalue and buy out AMC during a very vulnerable pandemic period. We have been successful, and you have successfully embraced our community. At this point, I would ask that you clarify the process of the 6 share counts referenced in your recent tweet so that we may better understand if those actions are addressing the true shareholder concerns. And I ask that the board utilize some of our resources to identify and communicate potential risks to our current stock price. I, for one, do believe it's significantly suppressed. The metrics on ownership, utilization, short interest, shares on loan, and daily volume appear to be similar to how GameStop was being reported before it experienced historically significant price increase. And I expect our leadership to adequately address our concerns, or simply state, in light of potential legal liabilities, we cannot or prefer not to comment or investigate, if that is the case.
Corey, you have 10 seconds left.
I'm all set. Thank you for everything you've done. I really appreciate you. I'm happy to be here and meet you. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for sharing your observations with me. And I think we have been pretty clear that, as recently as yesterday, that we know of 516.8 million issued and outstanding shares. We have said repeatedly, over and again, many times in the past year, that there is no reliable information about any shares above that number presently. We've heard all of the speculation about so-called fake shares or synthetic shares, concerns about trading practices that you all voice on Twitter and Reddit every day, which I read almost every day, not quite every day, but almost every day. And we've said that because we have no reliable information and we are a public company and securities laws are quite precise, about what the CEO of a public company can say and cannot say, that the best thing for us to do is make no comment. It doesn't mean that we're not looking carefully
Yes.
at what's going on around us. And I will disclose today, for example, something you are not aware. I know that one of the many concerns that you all voiced is something about fail to deliver shares. You should know that we have contacted the New York Stock Exchange on more than one occasion over the past year to inquire of the exchange about the fail to deliver shares in the AMC stock. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do that again in the near term. So we are watching, we are mindful.
Right.
The laws are quite precise about what I can say and can't say, but I appreciate you sharing your thoughts.
We're gonna be so fucking rich!
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Give the man a microphone.
How you doing, Adam? Mark Closer. I just got a quick questions. You did 6 share counts. Of those 6 share counts, can you tell us how many of those shares are owned by retail?
It's moved around a little bit. On the first count that I saw, and this is a long time ago, this was kind of March of 2021, I think it was around 70% of our total outstanding shares were owned by retail. I think it was the next share count, my memory might fail me, but I think it was the next share count that it was up to 80%. And and that would have been in the June 21 timeframe, June, July. Ever since then, it's been hovering right around 80%, sometimes a little above, sometimes a little below.
Look at that share
but
price.
In round numbers, 80-ish%, not
Manipulation
exactly 80%.
at its finest.
I did make a comment on a earnings call 1 or 2 quarters back that what I found so interesting about the percentage that retail owns is, by definition, if retail doesn't own it, then institutional investors own it. But many of the institutional investors who are there are forced to be there because they are index funds. And an index fund, by definition, has to buy all the stocks in its index. So we've been a Russell 2000 company. So if you're a Russell 2000 index fund, you had to buy AMC shares. We're a New York Stock Exchange company. If you were an NYSE index fund, you had to buy all the NYSE shares. What I said, since those people, it's not discretionary investing, whether it's retail or institutional, that if you took out the index funds, if you excluded them from the denominator of the fraction, because they have to be there, they have no choice, then retail owns more like 90% of AMC stock. And on the last share count that I saw, that not the share count of total shares outstanding, but what's owned by retail and what's owned institutionally, the numbers are still right in the same ballpark. Kind of 80%-ish, plus or minus 5, 90%-ish, plus or minus 5, of retail owning our total shares, or in the case of the 80 number, or retail owning 90% of the total number excluding the index funds. That's the answer to your question.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the room? Yes.
Can you say about the Highcroft money real quick?
Sure, you want to ask about Highcroft?
Yeah.
I see there's another question from a person in the room who told me before the meeting that she was the artist who drew "Let Them Eat Crow" meme. That is one of my favorite inbound memes of the past year. And boy, I have a lot to choose from, I might tell you. I thought Highcroft Mining Company was a terrific opportunity for AMC. And we took some heat on the first day we announced it because people said, why is the movie theater company buying a gold mine and silver mine in Nevada? And I understand that view. It's pretty out there. But Those people only thought of AMC as a movie theater company. We've been saying since last September, or possibly since last July, that we were going to look for transformative change at AMC and go further afield. As I said in my remarks today, be bolder and grander. And AMC does have expertise in running movie theaters, for sure. But if we proved anything in the last 2 years, we proved that AMC has unique expertise in scrounging up liquidity for a cash-starved company surrounded in turbulent times, but a company that has deep, rich assets. And when we were introduced to Hycroft Mining, it was clear it has deep, rich assets. It runs really deep in the ground. And last I checked, gold and silver can make you rich. But it had no cash and had a debt payment it could not make. And it was going to have to file for bankruptcy. So its shares were priced way low. And we instantly thought, we recognized that situation. We were just in it. We figured our way out of it. We can help this company to figure its way out of it. And sure enough, we announced our transaction on a Tuesday morning, and within 9 days, we'd helped Hycroft Mining raise $195 million. And in nine days after our investment, it had more cash than it had debt. And it had enough cash to operate for 5-6 years at least. And you may recall, I've said this before, but Hycroft is surrounded by other mines in northern Nevada, also with gold and silver. Hycroft has a 71,000 acre site and has explored only 2% of the site and has all these proven gold and silver reserves in just 2% of the land it controls. It was our speculation that if we could get Hycroft more cash so that it could explore more of its land, it likely would be able to find that it has even more reserves than it currently knows. Now, that's not definite. That remains to be proven. But based on our understanding, we got a good shot at that. And if that happens, Hycroft is going to be worth a whole lot more than what we paid for it. And I might add, Hycroft has been worth a whole lot more than we paid for it from the very first day of our transaction. And even today, it's 3 months later after we made the investment, the overall stock market has been declining. We all see the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war. We see the impact of $5 a gallon gas. We feel the effect of the Federal Reserve increasing interest rates. The market has been falling. Hycroft's share price is still higher today than it was when we bought in. So we were in the money on day one. We're in the money on day whatever we are, 90-ish. And I think it's going to prove to be a very successful investment for the company. And I lastly remind you, we didn't go in alone. There was one other investor who made the exact same investment we made, exact same structure, on the exact same day we did. His name is Eric Sprott, a Canadian billionaire who made his self-made, who made his fortune in investing in gold and silver. The capital of Canada is Ottawa. The business school of the University of Ottawa is the Eric Sprott School of Business. This man knows gold and silver, and he's with us side by side, or conversely, we're with him side by side, which also gives us great confidence that we were very smart in making the Hycroft investment. And I remind you, as I said in my earlier remarks, the board of directors authorized $100 million of additional investment in other opportunities. We will only deploy those monies if we can find opportunities, whether they're close to AMC expertise or a little bit further afield from AMC expertise, where we think that we can add value by our involvement and therefore create value for AMC shareholders. Remember, I too, like you, I'm an AMC shareholder. I want to see this company do well. for the benefit of all shareholders. Are there any other questions in the room? Yes.
Thank you, Adam, or should I say Chef Adam, cook of the Crow. My name is Rebecca, affectionately known as Ginger in the social media world. This is a different topic that has been discussed today. On page 57 of the proxy statement, it notes that the median employee is a part-time theater-level film crew member in the United States. On the previous page, page 56, it notes that there are about 21,000 U.S. employees. Mathematically, a large percentage of those would be, therefore, part-time employees. It is also noted in the last paragraph on page 56 that total earnings include additional pay elements such as overtime. What may not be known by many shareholders is that the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act exempts employees of the motion pictures from FLSA's overtime requirements. Source 29 USC 213B27. Those working at the almost 600 theaters of AMC across the United States, such as managers in many states, do not receive overtime because their states have no overtime laws. Those part-time workers mentioned earlier are managed at those theaters, and those theaters are managed by people who are working very long hours. As an aware shareholder of what I have previously spoken about, I would like to request that the company reflect their own policy of rewarding performance and retention and look into this and include full-time theater employees in the overtime compensation.
Thank you for your question. So, well, I'm not sure that at this meeting I can rewrite all U.S. laws related to overtime pay and hiring step practices and part-time employees and full-time employees. I can tell you this. And I tell you this knowing I'm going to go on national television in about 9 minutes, so I think we have one more question, which is perfect. We'll wrap. I'm so proud, as a leader of AMC, that we kept this company going during this pandemic, when everybody in the universe seemed to think or write that we weren't going to make it. And in all the things that we accomplished, in all the hours that we slaved to get this company to make it through the pandemic, the one thing that I was most proud of, above all else, is that I was helping to preserve 35,000 jobs here in the United States and internationally. And we did that. Go back to August in your heads of 2020. Go back in your heads to August of 2020. It was pretty bleak. The future of those 35,000 jobs was not assured. And we saved those jobs so those people do have an income. What's more, especially in 2021, as the country has seen a labor shortage, we've been raising wages all over this company. You know, ours is a company where many people, that's their first job out of school. Ours is a company where many of them are teenagers who are still in school. And it's hard to find quality employees in the United States these days. Not because there aren't a lot of them, there are, but there are more jobs than there are people. And so we, like other employers, are working very hard to attract, incentivize, retain employees. And one of the easiest ways to get there is by raising wages, and we did. And we raised our so-called AMC minimum wage by almost a third over the past year. What's more, over the Christmas and New Year's holiday, we actually implemented time and a half overtime holiday pay for all of the people in our theaters, which is something that AMC is, to my knowledge, has never done before. But it was the right thing to do, and we wanted to thank them for working as hard as they did, especially on holidays when they might want to be with their families. So we're very mindful of the issues that you're raising generally, that we should want to see our employees be as well compensated as the company can afford. And we are trying to do that as best we can. Next question. And I think this is the last that I see in the room, which is great. You're on.
Thank you, Adam. My name is Kelly Wyman. I'm a shareholder and also a very proud AMC employee. So my question comes from the AMC Ideas Group. And I chose this one because it's kind of quick, but when will AMC start selling merchandise? Is there any progress that you can give us about this initiative?
Thank you to the AMC Ideas Group. You've literally given us hundreds of ideas, and I've seen them. We've actually started a different kind of merchandise program than the one you envisioned. It started with the Ghostbusters ambulance, and we did a Batman popcorn tub, and we just did a Jurassic World popcorn tub. And with logo branded merchandise, I said on the last earnings call, I think it's going to be second half of this year where we will go forward with the merchandise program, which was one of the many ideas that have come in from our shareholders, which we actually have implemented. And there's a long list of ideas that have come in from our shareholders that we've implemented. So I appreciate the ideas. Keep them flowing. We've implemented a lot of them. Merch is one. Accepting cryptocurrency for payment is another. Having NFTs to help with selling movie tickets. We've done half a dozen of those already and more in the works. So keep the good ideas flowing. We're implementing the good ones. With that, we're now going to have a report on the results of the election. And I really am on TV in 5 minutes, Kevin, so you got to move.
The preliminary report of the inspectors of elections indicates that Mr. Aaron, Mr. Koch, Ms. Paulus, and Dr. Sage have been elected as directors. The appointment of Ernst & Young LLP as the company's independent public accounting firm for 2022 has been ratified. The non-binding advisory vote to approve the compensation of the company's named executive officers, as disclosed in the proxy statement, has failed to obtain the support of the majority of votes cast.
Thank you, Kevin. On behalf of the company, again, I'd like to thank all of our shareholders for your support of AMC. In addition, I'd like to thank you for re-electing all 4 directors, which includes me, as being re-elected to our board of directors and for ratifying E&Y as our accountants. The board and I greatly appreciate you sharing your views with us as expressed in your vote on Say on Pay. We will carefully consider your views as we make future compensation and disclosure decisions. I hereby request that the final report of the inspectors of election be filed with the minutes of this meeting. That concludes the business of the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Scott Falkenhayn, shareholder. I move this meeting be adjourned.
Thank you, Scott, for the motion. Is there a second?
Lisa Morris, the stockholder. I second the motion.
Thank you, Lisa, for the second. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstaining? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you to all of the AMC shareholders. We value you more than you'll ever know. We're adjourned.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only CEO Adam Aron, Commander-in-Chief of the motherfucking apes. We're going to the moon, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be so fucking rich. Let's go. Jerome Powell, you better get that money printer warmed up, motherfucker. Holy shit. Bitcoin's at 20,892. Johnny Bravo, cue the fire. Arnold Schwarzenegger, evacuate. Holy shit.
We're in the game. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, we need to clip Corey's statement. That was a beautifully eloquent question. Holy shit. Damn. I thought I was loud. Holy shit, you guys are the best. That was amazing. That was incredible. I could not be more pumped right now. Let's see if we can't get in touch with Adam Aaron ourselves as well. That'd be pretty fun.
Watching you in the background was pretty hilarious, I'll be honest.
I had to mute my mic because I was like shouting and screaming, so.
You could tell.
That was good.
The beard was wagging.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Boss Blunt's Think Tank. It's like taking the red pill. You're not going to like everything you hear here in this place. But I'll be damned if I don't say it for a reason.
It'll never be the same.
Never.
Tell you this, it's a good thing you closed the think tank, because we would be getting blown up right now.
Bitcoin's having an aneurysm. It's flat.
We need to let Corey in.
Corey's the man.
Yeah, we need to find Corey.
You know, I had to take a cold shower after his statement. Because I was so fucking jacked.
Go to Fox. All right, let's see. I got you. I'm not seeing Adam Aaron on Fox right now. But we just heard pretty much everything we wanted to hear, don't we? The numbers don't add up. And there's a reason for that. And Adam Aaron told us himself that he's very limited on what he can and cannot say. No more issued shares. There's no plans. He's listened to us on everything we've said, whether he agreed or not. He listened to us last year. He listened to us this year. Adam Aaron is the fucking man. And people that are talking shit, I don't really think they understand business. Business is a cutthroat, very difficult thing to deal with. Especially when you're fighting, well, naked shorting. AMC and GameStop are in very similar situations. And every single day, their companies continue to increase their bottom line, their fundamentals, their revenue streams. I could not be more proud of both these guys, Ryan Cohen and Adam Aaron. They're doing an amazing job.
I gotta be honest, you know, people give him so much hate, but I love the way Aaron handles those tough, short questions.
Yeah.
He navigates it so well with what he's able to do.
Absolutely agree. S&P 500, we got 5 minutes left in Power Hour, is at 36.55. So far down 3.5 percentage points on the day. These markets are bleeding liquidity. Pensions and 401ks, thrift plans and IRAs every single day. And it's very similar to 1929. Eerily similar. None of this stuff is conspiracy. It's all fact.
All of the illicit wealth in the world has been tracked by the National Security Agency for the past
15 years. We now know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Wall Street has stolen $100 trillion from Main Street with naked short selling. We also know that Wall Street has laundered $100 trillion in dirty money from trafficking in children and women and drugs and guns and gold. I can never tire of saying that 90% of the people in the U.S. government, the U.S. military, the U.S. intelligence community are good people trapped in a bad system. The secret intelligence community serves the deep state. It does not serve the American public. And CIA in particular has been doing torture, rendition and torture, drone assassination, regime change, helping to start wars based on lies, all because war and trafficking in humans and drugs and so forth are a profit center for Wall Street and the deep state. And once the president gets Benny into NSA and processes 100% of what we have at NSA, we have every single one of you by the balls. You cannot survive this. You have one out. The Truth and Reconciliation out is make the deal, motherfucker, or you are going to die.
Former CIA spy Robert David Steele. Former because he's passed away.
What a legend.
I think they committed more than him.
Yeah, they killed him. Guys, I can't find a Fox Business News link if any of you guys have one.
No. Commissioner Gordon means
power grids across the country getting a real early summer test.
Hold on, sorry.
Heat waves scorching much of the...
Commissioner Gordon?
Yeah, at least they fixed his death. He's still alive. I bet you the same as Epstein. They're too valuable to kill. Commissioner Gordon.
If anybody has the Fox Business News link, drop it in the chat or something, because I don't have it and I can't find it online. I just Googled everywhere I could find. Searched everywhere I could find on foxbusiness.com and everything.
Like in the North Side, the movie.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean. Market is closing with the SPY at 366. The NASDAQ down 4.39, 3.34 on the SPY. We got like a few seconds left. The Russell's down 3.45. They're wrecked.
You know, boss, I've been thinking about how to put this. You know,
go ahead, yeah.
The haters, FUD specialists, the haters, the FUD specialists, the shills, the bashers. That stuff might work for you in the short term, people, but you'll never get the respect of the people with that kind of crap. This man right here, running the stream, Boss Blunts, we're talking about hard work, conviction, drive, motivation, and a person who actually cares about each of us. I've been trying to think of how to put this. I'm so effing proud of you today. Thank you, boss.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that, Pantheon.
Yeah, the hard work pays off. You've been doing some pretty damn hard work.
Thank you, guys.
Theater goers,
Here's Adam.
have returned to theaters.
Appreciate you guys truly.
Stopping at our concession stands and spending like they've never spent before. Our concession revenue per head
closed 366.91.
is up almost 40.
366.91 on the SPY.
And that's not because of price increases. It's partially, but not so much. It's mostly because more people are stopping at the concession stands and they're buying more things when they're there. So this has been that's also been a very good news story for you.
Well, we want to see more people back in the theaters. I feel that's just an American pastime. Adam, thank you for joining us as you ran out of your shareholder meeting. Adam Aaron, the Dow closes below 30,000 as investors run for cover.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. So,
Well, and on that note, we're looking at a recession. Stocks, bonds, and crypto are in the shitter. And I could not be more confident than ever that I'm going to be filthy motherfucking rich. Oh, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. I feel terrible. It's really bittersweet. I know we've talked about this in the past. It's fucking absolutely bittersweet to think about how many people don't see what's coming, are not able to properly hedge themselves, don't understand what is happening in the markets. She's with mom, don't worry. And it's really tough to try to reach out to everybody, right? And there's no specific advice that I'm going to give or able to give to anyone as to particularly how to properly hedge themselves. But everybody needs to think, what goes up when the rest of the markets come down? And most often, from what I've seen, it seems to be meme stocks, precious metals, hot commodities, tangible assets and goods. And you're going to see things like you could have never imagined going for prices and trading for things that you would have never thought before. Diesel exhaust fluid, not even diesel, but just DEF, could be worth its weight in precious metals. Marijuana might be worth vast amounts of money. Food might be worth more than steel at some point. And silver, seeing as how it's one of the most heavily shorted precious metals and is greatly abused on the COMEX, is likely to be one of the greatest squeezes of all time. It has a lot of practical applications, much more so than gold, and is a lot more rare. That being said,
in the world, silver.
Absolutely. None of this was financial advice, and I'm not a financial advisor. I'd like to thank everybody in the think tank, everybody on YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, Rumble, all the platforms, LinkedIn, for your support, your contributions. And I hope everybody is prepared. Unfortunately, you're going to be seeing a lot of people trying to cast doubt and misinformation, YouTubers, Twitters, and trying to twist everything into in a negative connotation. You need to remember what you learned and what your due diligence has led you to learn over the time that you've been invested. And think to yourself, am I willing to wait for this? Because this is the kind of thing that could happen at any moment, and nobody knows when it will. We just know that there's a series of events occurring that are causing financial liquidations of stable coins, hedge funds, and that's the first step. After that, we have the people above them, other family offices, hedge funds, as well as banks and prime brokers, and then broker dealers and clearinghouses. And that's when Jerome Powell has to get the money printer out.
The cascade of liquidity crisis.
So getting to see Bitcoin and the SPY collapse around us, meanwhile the news and the mainstream media pretends this doesn't exist, is extremely bittersweet in the fact that most people will never believe or even get the chance to see this stream or a stream of this sort. I wish you all peace and wealth. I hope you're properly hedged. Have a great day, everybody.
And remember to like, subscribe, share, because this is good due diligence and coming out of this man's face holes.
Yeah, hit the like button.
so goddamn rich. I think it's time to blow this thing. Get the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Getting fucking rich. I want my fucking money. Griffin, I want my fucking money. Yo, motherfucker. Holy shit, we're gonna be so fucking rich. Damn it, we're gonna be so fucking rich. Griffin, I want my fucking money.
You're an original,
Hey,
aren't you?
Yellen, cowboy, give me the fucking money. Get the goddamn money printer out.
Great. Bounty letter.
We're gonna be so fucking rich. Get the goddamn money printer out.